Hey, Rick, you doing all right? I think so, man. How about you? Hey, dude. How you doing? What are you running for? I'm just a dog catcher.
So we got the old seven.
I'm right here. Yes. Okay.
Oh, he's here.
Good evening, gentlemen.
How are you, my friend?
Hello, sir.
I made it. I'm good.
Good.
There was always that person, you know, they waited in front of your house when you're late, when they drive 10 miles an hour. They're waiting right there for you.
Yeah.
One day I'm gonna catch up with them. Say, hey, leave me alone.
Yeah. How you been?
Hanging in there. Hey, Mr. Commissioner.
How are you, sir? Interesting time.
That's all we can hope for. Okay. Oh, yeah, that's right. Click that thing off, too. Oh, I missed last week, so I'm in the penalty box, I guess. I took a new job in companies, it's on Pacific time, so I'm all messed up.
Button. All right, this call to order the meeting of the Union County Land Use Board for Tuesday, January the 23rd. This time I would ask Mr. Tilley if he would pray for us. Everyone stand.
Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for bringing us together tonight. We pray for guidance. We pray for guidance on every side. We pray for all the people that's came. And we pray, Lord, you'll just help us to do the right things for everyone. We ask this, Lord, in your name. Amen.
Say the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, thank you.
It's time we need to establish voting members, and we have Mr. Edwards, as a regular member, is absent, so Mr. Balcom, you will fill in for him tonight. So we have a full 7-member board. Are there any additions or deletions? Staff, anything? Board, anything? Okay. That being said, I would ask for a motion to approve the agenda.
Make motion approved.
Is there a second? Second. All right, we got that. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Approval of the minutes from January 23rd meeting. I think I said today was January 23rd. You know why I said that? Because that was right.
It's up there, isn't it?
It's up there. I was only
Must be
following staff's direction, and on top of it, it clearly says it's Tuesday, January 23rd. When in fact, we all know that it's Tuesday, February the 18th.
No, we
20th.
had to send it back a week because the commissioners needed their spot, so that is the right amount now.
Okay, whatever you say, sir. Anyway, we're here. And did we approve the minutes for 20? We did.
We have not.
We did. I thought we did. Do we not approve them? No. Okay, all in favor? Oh, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Sorry, that just got me off track there for a second, because I thought I was doing the right thing, but when I said it, I was like, I don't know if that's right or not, because it seems like we left January a while ago. All right. Next item is planning board, it's the planning board side of what we do. Rezoning petition number 2022 CZ0089 Dixon Farm rezoning. I will call on Mr. Hanson to come and give us a report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the Land Use Board. This is a conditional rezoning, hence the CZ 2022-009 called Dixon Farm. This is a request to rezone two parcels totaling approximately 179 acres from R40 to R4 with conditions. It's to build an age-restricted residential community with 391 homes. There's a series of conditions associated with it. There's a site plan with some trail connections that will be public, road improvements relating to the traffic impacts, and a 5-year vesting of development rights, and that they will meet all requirements of the Unified Development Ordinance. So this is the site plan. The area in green reflects an enhanced berm that was the results of the community meetings that were held over the last 2 months. Otherwise, the site plan is what has been presented to the community. You have one access point here at Johns Forest, the other opposite the recently developed Weddington Point neighborhood. You also have stub outs to the south in case the properties are developed in the future. All of these roads would be public, it's not gated, and you can see that there is a trail network within the site. Portions would be all-weather surface, so paved or asphalt. The remainder would be some form of natural surface. And this is what the site currently looks like. Large agricultural property with a house and barn on site. This is looking east towards Monroe. This is looking west towards Wesley Chapel. You can see on the opposite side of the street where it was a recent subdivision. In terms of development status, you can see there are some large subdivisions that have been built to the east and north and west of the site, not to the south. And the fact that the 2020 structures don't show up for a lot of Weddington Point, as well as neighborhood to the south off of Airport, just show how rapidly the area has developed, that these lots were created but they hadn't yet been occupied. In terms of our environmental features, there is a stream with floodplain that crosses through the site. This would be kept in open space as a part of this site plan. Otherwise, there are no significant environmental features in terms of wetlands or topography. In terms of zoning in the area, yes, go ahead, Rick.
Could you go into a little bit more detail exactly where this is located?
Oh, so this is located, Rocky River Road is over here, and Airport Road is right here. So it's along NC 84 between Monroe and Wesley Chapel. So I apologize for that. And so this is the environmental features in the area. Looking at zoning, you can see that there's a range of zoning districts. You have conditional zoning. You had smart growth development, which was very popular in the 90s. You have R20 zoning, R40 zoning, municipalities with their own zoning here to the west. So it's a range, but generally speaking, it's single family. There's utilities in the area, so you're talking somewhere approximately 2 units per acre. Some of these developments are less, and some are greater than 2 units per acre. But generally, approximately 2 units per acre is what the land use plan recommends for this area.
Can
Utilities are present.
can you show on here what part around here is in a municipality versus the county?
That'd be the gray area, and then I think that's it for this area. It's just the gray areas. That would be your municipality.
So the gray area is the county.
No, the gray is not in the county. The vast majority of the land in this area is inside is not inside a municipality.
What municipality is it?
You have Wesley Chapel, you have Monroe. Those are the two. Monroe would be to the east, not very far, and then to the north. off
Is
the
that that
map as
blue
well.
right there? That blue at the top?
That could be
Monroe?
as well. I actually have our,
Probably is, yeah.
I actually have our Go Maps site up.
Oh, okay.
So you can see that, the property's right here, but turn off the aerials. So you see municipalities, that's municipality, that's Wesley Chapel, and then to the north of those Weddington Point subdivision lots, you're into Monroe.
So I guess what I'm saying, there's no developments in that area that are actually in the county.
No, they're all in.
They're on the.
Well, I mean, they're controlled by a municipality, not the county, though.
It's a mix. Some are inside
gonna say.
municipalities, like all this brown, that's all Wesley Chapel.
St. John Forest is in
St. John's Forest in the county.
county, yeah. So
Okay.
yeah, it kind of, it's right there where everything kind of comes together. You got Monroe, West Chapel all kind of coming and joining together, and there's this spot right there. That's in Union County and not in a city. What's that CZ? What was that about?
That means conditional zoning. Means
Well, I know,
there's
I'm trying to
rezoning
understand.
Associated with it. So if this were approved, you'd have a color with a CZ on
Okay.
this property as well.
Gotcha.
What's the lot in the middle?
That's the second parcel. They separated the house out from the agricultural land. Often that's a tax strategy to separate the tax land from the homestead.
But the entire property is going to be part of this. That house is going.
Both of them, yeah, both of them will be incorporated with this redevelopment, or this development.
Yeah, okay.
Now, will the presentation of this be more like townhomes or be individual houses?
Single family,
So it is single family?
detached, yeah.
All right. What about sewer?
This site will be served by water and sewer.
I have a
How-
question.
How are we serving them with water and sewer when we got parts of the county that has water and sewer, but they're not allowed to get on it because there's no capacity?
That's not true.
Well, it ain't
Development-
been but a few
development-
meetings ago that we discussed the storage place in Waxhaw there that was in the county, and they had to put in a septic tank for one bathroom or one commode and one sink.
Now, that doesn't mean you're going to get the capacity tomorrow. I'm just saying that there is still capacity, development is still occurring that is coming online to the system. And with the future capacity of the 12-mile plant expansion, which would serve this area.
But as
this
far as
development
right
would be
now,
fine.
is there capacity right now at this minute?
With all the development that's in front of it?
Yeah,
No, I don't think there is.
okay, that's what I was asking.
I
Okay.
have a question regarding the sewers also. I'm used to being on previous boards, not here, that there would be a letter from the water and sewer district saying they had capacity. Now, how do you determine that there will be capacity?
Capacity is not reserved in Union County until the development has been designed and permitted. So you would not get a letter from Union County at this phase in the development.
Basically, all we're doing is we're rezoning it. They're asking us to rezone it so that they
That's right.
can.
The comments from Union County Public Works attest to the proximity of pipes and the ability to connect to them. They don't commit capacity to a development at this stage.
But I guess what I'm saying though, at this stage right now, there is no extra capacity in Union County until future growth, correct?
Shannon, I want to make sure I don't misrepresent, because you're dealing with permitting development on Cuthbertson Road, that, that you would be getting in line.
You're just
So
getting
in
the
other
line.
words,
Yeah.
but in other words, before this project could go forward, the existing taxpayers of Union County would have to help build capacity.
No,
Well, then who's spending the money?
ratepayers.
Huh?
Union County Public Works is not supported by taxes, it's supported by user
So
fees.
when we put down new pipes and get grants and all that, it don't touch the taxpayer?
They are paid for by user fees.
So they're basically sort of like the utilities, the power and all, they pay for their own way.
They are an enterprise fund.
Enterprise fund, right.
They are self-funded.
Okay, all right, good deal.
Okay, one question would be, say, if this is rezoned and we approve, actually recommend it to the county commissioners, before the permits would be issued, would the sewer and water capability be available for them at the time it's being built? And our biggest concern is approving or recommending an approval, and that's, okay, guys, we can rezone this, we agree with you, but when they get the permits, then you're saying that the capacities will be there to accept this?
The
Because
current,
there's no septic tanks going in, so it would have to.
I mean, that involves a lot of hypotheticals because
Okay.
we serve everything outside of Monroe. So Waxhaw or Indian Trail or Mineral Springs even could approve some large development that jumps in ahead of them, and perhaps all the capacity for 12 Mile is used up before they're in a position to actually pull permits to install it. I
Well, now,
can't say.
is water the same way?
Water's the same way, but there's not near the capacity concerns for water.
That's not what I mean.
Sewer.
Is water, when we put water lines from another county to here, does the water system pay 100% of that? Is that not a burden on the county taxpayers at all?
That's paid for through user fees as well.
User fees, so no taxpayer money goes toward it?
No, it's an enterprise fund.
Okay.
Okay, so basically what we're saying is then there's not many septic tanks approval of this, then it will be our county utilities.
That's correct.
Okay, that's what I was getting at, just to make sure that's not, oh, no, we can't give that. So
Yeah,
we'll
these,
put it
with
septic.
these lot sizes, it could not occur on well
Right,
and septic.
that was it.
One question, Norman.
Yes.
You understand R4 with conditions. I understand R4, I've never heard of R4 with conditions.
See, there's two types of rezonings that are possible. There's straight rezoning, where you just say, I'm currently zoned residential and I want to be zoned business. I don't have a site plan for what I want to do, I just don't want it to be residential. That's a straight rezoning, and that's the request. There's no site plan, there's no conditions, it's just changing the zoning designation. That's a straight rezoning. In the last 15-plus years, the legislature's given local governments, such as Union County, the ability to do conditional rezonings, where you can say, show me what you actually want to do here. We want to negotiate and figure out the best layout, and there's a little bit of give and take. And then that site plan and that list of conditions is what you're actually considering. So this site plan I presented, this list of conditions I presented, would actually be codified and filed with the Register of Deeds, and those are the conditions that apply to this development. And that's why it's called conditional rezoning.
Which could be different than the subdivision across the creek,
What do you mean?
the conditions.
Certainly, certainly. Okay, so in terms of transportation, 84 is shown as a future 4-lane. It is not funded. It's not funded anytime soon to be widened for 4 lanes, but you can't do it without the right-of-way. So what we do in situations like this is request the dedication of the additional right-of-way needed to widen the road. And so that happened on Weddington Point across the street, and it's a request that the developer agreed to for this one. So I could say that for the frontage along this site, instead of a 60-foot right-of-way, now it's a 100-foot right-of-way as a byproduct of an approved rezoning. Traffic volumes along 84 are between 9,000 and 13,000 cars a day. Airport Road, approximately 6,000 cars a day. I'll note that the intersection of Johns Forest and 84 is actually going to be illuminated at the direction of Union County in the near future, and that was due to a crash history, specifically a night crash history. So illuminating intersections helps with safety. So this intersection will be illuminated by Union County in the coming months. Otherwise, there are no funded improvements in this area. On this map, I will say to the west, 84 and Potter is funded for improvements, and to the east, 84 and Rocky River are funded for improvements, both of which were funded with assistance from Union County.
When you say eliminated, does that mean it's
Il-
closed up, sealed
No,
up?
No, illuminated, like
Oh, illuminated. I thought you said eliminated.
lit up. So yes, it will be lit up by Union County.
It's very dark out there.
Streetlights. And so there are road improvements to the immediate east and west of this area that are going to occur in the near future. The one at Rocky River actually is going to the Board of Commissioners in early March to authorize the funds to be assigned to the budget so that we can enter into the agreement with the NCDOT that the city of Monroe did the exact same thing last month. That then allows the DOT to start on the engineering for that project. To the west, honestly, as a result of this traffic impact analysis that was conducted as a part of this development, the intersection of 84 and Potter was already funded for a roundabout. It was funded several years ago. And what was determined as a result of the process of looking at traffic impacts in this area was that even without this development, that intersection was already in a bad way with the roundabout. It was going to fail within a handful of years after completion. And so the DOT has actually gone back and are revisiting the design for that intersection. Maybe a roundabout's no longer going to work. Maybe it's just going to be a really big intersection with lots of turn lanes and a signal. So that's being evaluated. And so that is a benefit of going through a process like this, is it allowed that intersection to be evaluated in more detail, that raised the issue to the DOT. So that's,
Quick question, and
Yes.
you may be already there, but the intersection at St. John Forest, is that going to be, what's that going to be? What are we doing there? Because that's a busy intersection to
Sure.
start with.
well, that already has a turn lane going into the site, doesn't have a signal. What's been proposed, first off, you're going to have turn lanes left and right, getting into each of the access points into this development. What is proposed as a part of this is to install a signal at Johns Forest and to add an exit turn lane for the site, contingent upon the HOA able to deed them the right-of-way, the land. And then there'll be a left and a right exiting Johns Forest, as well as the signal. And that was favorably received by the residents of that neighborhood, or at least the HOA board membership of that neighborhood. Moving along to the land use plan, again, the areas in gray are municipalities. The parcels in question are the ones in thick black line. Everything else, single-family residential. Again, if you have utilities, something on the order of approximately 2 units per acre is appropriate. If you don't have utilities, you go back down to 1 unit per acre because you don't have utilities. In terms of schools and utility impacts, this originally was proposed as a traditional all-ages type of neighborhood. So schools were consulted. They provided information about the enrollment at the schools that are within this cluster. But since it's been converted to an age-restricted development, these comments don't really matter because school-age children aren't allowed to live in development like this. And for utilities, the answer is public water and sewer is available to this site. They don't talk about, we have a willingness to serve. That commitment is not made at this point. It's just a statement of they're available to the site. And a lift station is not required. It would be served with gravity.
All right, I have a question.
Yes.
Are these homes that people buy? I mean, are we talking about rental homes here, or they actually purchase them?
Single-family homes, they can be purchased or
But
rented.
where I'm going with it is, how do you make sure that somebody's grandchildren don't go to living with the other people? What do you do? If they bring their grandkids there, you kick them out?
Honestly, the applicant team has addressed this in the past, and they have a pretty good answer to that question, so I'd really want to defer to them. Either you could have it as a part of their presentation, or we could ask them to come up now.
No, that's fine, we'll wait.
Okay.
But that's just, I don't really understand how you could possibly guarantee that.
Well, the short answer is, people in neighborhoods like this like to narc on each other, so you'll find out. And then secondly, there's covenants and restrictions that keep them, that make it,
Well, but
against
being
the
on
rules
this
to do that.
board as long as I have, I also know that people have a way to kick a can down the road for a real, real long time before any action ever gets done.
Well, I'll let them answer that question about how it's actually enforced. In terms of public feedback, 2 meetings were held. One was required by us. The applicant proposed a second one to answer some additional questions that have been raised. Comments and concerns about traffic along 84, the ability to get out of the road, or out of their residences onto 84, as well as buffering, enforcing the age restrictions. Residents of St. John's Forest attended and gave some feedback on the access point, which resulted in the modification to the intersection at St. John's Forest to include the turn lane exiting to address their concerns. I will note that in terms of public feedback, a resident did email a very thorough letter proposing that the county buy it as a county-owned golf course as a way to address development in the area. We did pass it off to our Parks and Recreation Director. He said we're just not in the golf course business in Union County. In terms of municipal feedback, whenever it's close to a municipality, we always solicit their input. In this instance, it'd be both Monroe and Wesley Chapel. Monroe had no comments about it. Wesley Chapel passed a resolution opposing it, citing density, flooding, and traffic concerns. So in terms of staff report and recommendation, there are positives and negatives. In terms of negatives, the density is higher than what's recommended in the comprehensive plan. Its gross density is approximately 2.2. It's net, which is when you take out all of the floodplain, the buffering, the street rights away, it's more like 2.7 units per acre. Even with the additional traffic mitigation that will be installed as a part of this development, there'll still be more cars in the area, so you can say that there's more congestion in the area. And it's going to reduce about 180 acres of agricultural land. Well, maybe not 180 because some of it's in floodplain, not used for agricultural uses, but a significant amount of agricultural land. The positives are that they will provide transportation improvements to mitigate their impacts. I would say above what would be traditionally required or possible through a by right development. It includes a significant amount of open space, and because it is age restricted, it's not going to impact nearby schools. So therefore, staff recommends approval of this rezoning. And I'll note that the applicant team is here to present information and answer any questions you may have, and I know that there are several people signed up to speak as well.
Well, I have one question. When you was talking about the road improvements would improve the situation that's already there, wanting the extra traffic offset that? Because basically if you didn't have the extra traffic in that particular stretch, it wouldn't be needed no way, would it?
I would say the residents of Johns Forest already have an issue getting out of their neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
And I would also say that in the event that 84 ever is widened, the cost of purchasing right-of-way, I know you mentioned Monroe Road and all the trees that have recently been taken down. The act of clearing out a corridor to make it suitable for putting in a wider road is pretty arduous. So the first step is clearing out the right-of-way. In this instance, I can say that you're talking about almost a half a mile of road that's been cleared as a result of developments on both sides of the road. So that's definitely a positive. And the development would contribute $200,000, which could be used to secure additional grant funding through CARTPO or through the NCDOT if it turns out that that intersection project at 84 and Potter needs more money because now it's a bigger project.
So basically the $200,000 is I'll call it a gift for future road projects in that area?
That's right.
Okay.
Yes. So is there going to be more? Sure, but this is mitigating quite a bit of its impacts and helping address issues that already existed before this development came along, both at Johns Forest and at 84 and Potter.
And let me be clear on one other thing. You're saying that nothing about this development would require taxpayer money in any way, shape, or form. It's 100%, because you said the water and the sewer stands on its own.
I mean, there's the impact fees, or I'm sorry, not impact fees, the inspection fees and whatever, those are paid for by developments when they, submit construction.
Oh, I
plans and
get
things
that.
like
I'm just saying, there's nothing about a development like this that would bring money from the county to support it.
Sure, and what I'm saying is that I'm thinking out loud in terms of all the aspects of the county that interact in a situation like this. The schools, presumably the answer is it's not applicable. For the utilities, it's paid for by the user fees. For all the inspection services which are required by the county, those are paid for by user fees. So I don't know, in the short term, what county expenses there would be above and beyond just the normal act of administering law enforcement and fire rescue
Right,
services.
but, okay.
Yes, sir.
Municipal comments, where it said that the Wesley Chapel Village Council passed a resolution opposing the development, citing the density, flooding, and traffic concerns.
Yes.
Did the staff consider their options of turning it down or not recommending it when your staff says they do recommend it?
Well, we noted, this came from their board. This didn't come from their staff.
Oh, okay.
And so we would note, the density is, in terms of a negative, it is higher than what our comprehensive plan would recommend, and that there are going to be more cars in the area. However, in terms of the flooding aspect, they have, I think, 4 stormwater detention ponds, significant buffering off of the streams. So that's really as much as you could ever hope for in development.
Okay, but with all of this in consideration, staff is in approval of it, though?
We recommend.
Okay,
approval,
that's
yes.
good. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for, Mr. Hanson? Thank you, sir.
Okay.
If we need you, we'll call you.
Yes, sir.
At this time, I would ask the applicant and their team if they'd come forward and present their side of the story and see what we got.
Okay. I'm not very technically savvy. I have to be trained every time I come to a new podium. Yeah, up and down. Yep, there you go. Thank you. Thank you and good evening. My name is Walter Fields. I'm a city planner by training and by choice. I've worked with David Weekley Homes on a number of projects, including one approved by the Board of Commissioners and this planning board several years ago, Streamside over on Cuthbertson Road. Our team is here tonight. Shannon Bowling is with David Weekley. He's going to address you in a little bit about some of the questions about how do you make sure the grandkids don't move in. We actually have the federal government looking over our shoulder on that. He can talk about that. Mark Keim is our site civil engineer. This site plan is he knows more about it than the rest of us put together if there are any specific questions about the site plan. And Michael Wickline is our transportation engineer who conducted the traffic study under the guidance of Union County and NCDOT. And the commitments in this plan flow from that traffic study. I would like to take a moment and recognize the folks who are here who have been our biggest fan club, and I say that with a full heart, through this project from the very beginning. This was filed in December of '22. We actually had a meeting in February of '23, and we had a lot of the same people sitting here tonight at that meeting. It was well attended. We took away a lot of information from that meeting, and that meeting and the 2 subsequent meetings led us to the plan that we have here tonight. We've made changes based on comments and recommendations from our closest neighbors, as well as from the larger community directly across the street, St. John's Forest. I'm not going to review a lot of the details. I think it's in your staff report, and Bjorn covered all the bases. I would like to point out a couple of things in our site plan that we have done specifically to address concerns that were brought to us. This again is the site plan. It's focused in a little more than the original one was. This is an area context map. The areas A and B, I'm going to show you in a minute, show the specific road improvements that are made at both of those locations. Some that are sort of a basic requirement in terms of turn lanes, but there's widening that goes with that, and the installation of a traffic signal flows from the traffic study, and that's part of our first phase of our development. This is sort of an image of what that's going to look like. Johns Forest Lane to the north of our site, as was mentioned earlier, has one lane in and one lane out. And to get the full benefit of a traffic signal, they really needed 2 lanes out. There's never any restriction turning in, but there is a restriction coming out. And so we've already had a couple of meetings with their board. Shannon can tell you about the details of that. This image has been sent to NCDOT for an initial round of comments, since we'd be making improvements on a public street that's already there, which is Johns Forest Lane. And we believe this addresses a significant number of the traffic concerns that were reflected in the report, as well as comments that we heard from folks at our 3 community meetings. This is just another illustration showing how the turn lanes and so forth go back to the east, and measuring the distances from where people's driveways are to make sure there's plenty of stacking and plenty of clearance for those driveways. This is the westernmost access point, again showing the details of the road improvements that will be made there, the widening, and the open space and the extra right-of-way that will be part of this development along that portion of the site. The eastern edge of the site is the one that's closest to our neighbors. We've had a lot of conversation about, well, what can you do there, and can't we do something to reduce the density, and can't we have a bigger buffer? All of which we've tried to incorporate into the plan. I'm sure they'll address that with you tonight. We have 2 different lot sizes. The 60-foot lots are the largest lots, larger lots, and they've all been grouped, not all of them, but we've made sure that along the eastern edge of the site, we're only putting the 60-foot lots. That was something that came out of a community comment. And we've also established a buffer along the eastern edge of the site, which is significantly greater than a typical buffer might be. The concept of buffering single family from single family takes a little getting used to, but since this is a significant change in what the folks that live there have seen for years and years and years, we've set aside a much larger buffer cross-section that would include 50 feet and an 8-foot berm that would be landscaped on top of the berm. At the bottom of that image, you see the cross-section of that berm and the specific landscaping plans for the types and numbers of plant species that would be planted in that area. And I did want to touch base again. Bjorn mentioned the extra transportation improvements. One of the reasons this thing took so long is there was so much stuff going on with NCDOT. As I said, we filed it in December of '22, and the traffic study kept changing because NCDOT had a plan for what they're going to do at Potter Road, but the more they looked at it, the more we looked at it, it didn't look like it was going to work. And so we've spent a lot of time redoing and fine-tuning the traffic study that the county and NCDOT expected us and instructed us to do. And while they continue to make changes, David Weekley also made a significant change in terms of committing this to be an age-restricted community. That has several impacts. First of all, there's virtually no impact on the school system. 391 lots, no school-age kids can live in this community. Second thing is, and I've done several large-scale rezonings for active adult-type communities or age-restricted communities. They use less water and sewer than a house with 3 or 4 kids in it. Those that are continuing to work, many work from home. You don't have the same sort of peak hour traffic coming and going, if you would, that this site would have if it was just a normal market rate development. Seniors actually do a lot more volunteer work in the community. That's not necessarily a planning issue, but as any community grows, having a good, strong source of volunteers is a good thing. And at the end of the day, because this is an age-restricted community, and I think Shannon's going to touch on this too, these units will tend to be higher value units and maintain their value. And that's something he can talk about. And I think Commissioner Tilley asked a question about taxes. We didn't ask about the taxes that will come in from this development, and Shannon may be able to help you with that. As I said, we had 3 meetings. One was February of last year, and my bad, I got fussed at that night because in terms of working with the church, we ended up doing it on Valentine's Day. We brought Valentine cookies and everything to the meeting, but we may not have had a full crowd, but we did want to start the process way early. So a year ago is when we first went out to the community with this plan, and it didn't look like this then. It has changed a lot since then. The second meeting was 11th of January, and we were making a lot more progress and getting the more details pinned down, and so we agreed to have a third meeting and invited, again, the same mailing list went out for all of these meetings, and we had a lot more attendance from St. John's Forest than we'd had in the past. And the bulk of the discussion focused on the intersection at their community and the transportation improvements that we're making to deal with the situation that they're sort of stuck with. Many of you may recall that was supposed to have another access point back to an elementary school and through back out to some other streets. And that never happened. So all those houses in that community all have one way in and one way out. We can't provide another way in and out for them, because we know that a community of their size and of our size needs a couple of access points. But we can do something to step up and not just create the signal at that location. We benefit from the signal too, and so does the motoring public benefit from the signal. But that community in particular is going to benefit because it's not just a light hanging there. It's 2 lanes coming out of their community that will let the traffic disperse much quicker in the mornings when everybody's trying to get out. The signal creates the spacing to allow those turn movements to occur. And at the end of the day, we think that's probably a real good, a benefit of this proposal for the larger community. These units are sort of clustered. They're not tightly clustered. I mean, this is a conventional subdivision layout. All public streets, individual homes on individual lots, all for sale. But there's a tremendous amount of open space, as you can see by that image on your screen right now. Again, no impact on the schools. A good impact if you're talking about water and sewer, because these folks tend to not use as much water and sewer. The transportation improvements, not just the intersection and the roadway in front of our site, but also $200,000 that goes to Union County. It doesn't go to NCDOT, it goes to Union County for other projects that they either have or may identify in this immediate area, and they can use that money to leverage other money from other sources. And finally, we're pleased that after all this work and time and energy and comments from the community, they recommend approval. This is a little bit higher than a prototypical density, but I think there's a lot of things that offset that. I'm used to dealing with densities much, much higher than this, and so the difference between 2 and 2.2 or 2 and 2.7 means a lot in your ordinance and in your comp plan, but that's one of the elements that goes into the decision. We hope you will consider the other things that this contributes to the community in terms of reduced impact, added property values, and some additional transportation improvements, as Bjorn said, over and above what this site would typically require. So I'm going to stop at that point unless you have some questions for me, and let Shannon come up and talk a little bit more about some of the details that y'all had asked about.
I have a quick question for a couple of questions. On the green area that you're showing, who will maintain this green area?
The Homeowners Association.
Okay, they will be responsible for it.
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's good, thank you. What is the age restriction?
The federal government, the Federal Fair Housing Act, which is an anti-discrimination act, and it's been on the books for years and years and years. There are some limited exceptions to the Federal Fair Housing Act, and one is for age-restricted communities. And there are several different components of it, but the basic component is 55 or older. At least one person in every house has to be 55 or older. Then there's percentages of this and percentages of that, in addition to the federal requirements, because if we say that, then we have to do it. We can't say it's age restricted and then just throw it on the market. We can't do that. In addition, David Weekley has other covenants that go above and beyond the federal requirements, and Shannon can tell you more about that.
Okay, thank you.
I have a quick question, and I'm assuming I just want to know the answer to it. But these large white areas, there's 3 of them that are carved out separate from the green space. Are those retention ponds, or what are those?
Those are our water quality facilities. I don't know that Mark has them.
All right, it's more, they were separate, and I was like, what?
Yeah, I mean, that's what
Particularly one of
they're
them's very
there
large.
for. That's what they're there for.
Okay.
The site will be, the water will be managed to send it in the direction it wants to go. I think there was an earlier plan for this that actually has some stormwater facilities on the east side of the site. It's very strange. But yes, sir, that's how we manage our water
Gotcha. Right.
collection and distribution.
Now, I have one more question about the age restriction.
Yes, sir.
Let's just suppose a couple moves in that one's 55 and the other's much younger and they have a child.
They got
Is
a
there-
problem.
Then they're not allowed
They
in there
got a
then?
problem.
All right.
Anything else from Mr. Fields? Not. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Shannon Bowling.
Thanks, Shannon.
Thank you, Walter. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name's Shannon Boland. I'm the land manager for David Weekley Homes here in the Charlotte Division. Appreciate your time tonight. We're excited to be in front of you about another opportunity here in Union County. We do have some recent experience with age-restricted, age-qualified communities here in the county and the state and across the country. We're currently building right now in the Streamside community on Cuthbertson Road. Some of the same questions that you had, Mr. Tilley, came up then, and our age restriction is 55 and over. Federal Fair Housing Law allows for 20% of the buyers not to be 55 and over, but our restrictions are more stringent than Federal Fair Housing Law. Every home has to have a qualified buyer 55 and over. And you cannot be a permanent resident of the community if you're under 25. Grandkids can come and visit for short periods of time, but they're not allowed to stay with grandma and grandpa to get into a better school district. We've seen that movie before, and so we restrict our HOAs. And we do have a lifestyle director on staff, and we do have some of our residents, someone might have said narc a while ago, but we consider them the best enforcement to our restrictions that we have out there. But we do monitor it, and yeah, somebody's got a problem. If they have a child, then they're going to move.
What will be the price range of these houses?
If we were to build it today, we're probably looking at something for something in the 1,600 to 2,400 square foot range, and starting mid to high fours on the pricing, going up from there.
Thank you.
We think this, first off, the lots in this community are bigger than the lots at Streamside. Streamside was 45s and 55s. We're considering 50s and 60s here. Same type of home, and I think we might have just some, you can see some example architecture. This is from Union County right now. They're front load garages, a mix of materials, stone, hardy plank, some brick. But there's options for people to finish some square footage above the garage to where they can get up above that 2,600 square foot range.
I just noticed the garages with the trees planted in front of the doors.
I'm sorry, that somebody took a
Model
picture.
homes.
That's our model, yeah. When we convert that, we've got 4 models there. So, yeah, we would remove those trees on the way out.
You gotta be really good at getting the garage.
Yeah.
Motorcycles.
Mr. Tilley, you had a question about sewer.
Yes.
And it is, I'm pulling from the most recent report from Union County Public Works. We are in the 12 Mile Creek Basin treatment area. There's infrastructure in the stream right now as far as gravity pipes that we would connect to. Today, 12 Mile Creek is at 89.8% capacity. Actual is 69, and future permits takes it up to 89.8% capacity. So their permit capacity today is 7.5 million gallons, and the expansion that you guys referred to earlier will take it up to 9 million gallons. So it's our experience that zoning and permitting takes an extreme amount of time. So what we do is we zone it and permit it, and we get on the shelf and we wait for capacity. It's our understanding that with the expansion, the future capacity is there for a short time, and we want to be through this process and through the permitting process and ready for it. If we started once it was available, we would be afraid that we would miss out. So that's why we're in front of you at this time.
Bjorn, those numbers he just gave us on the capacity right now. Now, not too long ago, it was full with the ones that were out there. How did it go down 12%?
Let me first say, I don't work for Public Works.
Okay, well, I'm just going by the testimony that was given to
I can
us.
share a couple pieces of information. One is that the accounting of future development is almost always higher than actual flows. So this may hypothetically be calculated at 80,000 gallons a day, but in reality, it's only 60,000 gallons a day. So what I'm saying is, as stuff goes from hypothetical to actually being built, the actual flows turn out to be less, and capacity is essentially created. Also, part of the reason why we were full is because we had some stupendous rainstorms that caused infiltration into our pipes. Doesn't matter if the water that coming into the 12-mile plant came from a toilet or runoff into a leaky pipe. It's still volume that they have to treat. Over the 12-month basis that these percentages are calculated, there weren't those type of extreme rain events that artificially increased their volume that they were treating.
Well, going back to what I said earlier, you know, we had a petitioner that had one restroom, a commode and a sink in it. And then we were told at that meeting that they had to have their own sewer because there were no room, and they were less than a half a mile from the 12 Miles Creek station. I'm just baffled as how in that short period of time he's saying there's all this capacity now.
Those people wanted to develop very soon. This 90%, you still have you still have developments that are waiting, that haven't yet been built. So
in other words, really that's an inaccurate number because it's not based on the ones that's already permitted that just haven't built yet. It's what's coming into their facility right now, but it don't mean that there's not people out there that hasn't built yet that still has first choice.
honestly, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't create that spreadsheet. I'm just letting you know that that's what's been presented in the past on why the capacity, even though the plant obviously hasn't been expanded yet, why development can still occur in light of the fact that 18 months ago they were told it was full. It's because of a couple of those reasons. And by full, it meant it was not only the here and now, but what's in the proverbial pipeline of future development. And so it's a moving target. It can be confusing, and I am not the best person to fully explain it. But the bottom line is, this cannot be built unless Public Works says there is room at the plant to accept the flow. It will never be built it will never be permitted to be built if the flow at the plant, or the capacity at the plant does not exist.
Okay.
I think that pretty much answers our questions. What you're saying is, they can't get a permit until the sewer capacity is there. So that takes that completely out of the ballgame.
That could
We don't have to
that
be
could
concerned.
today, it could be 3 years from now.
Yeah, but we don't have to be concerned with that. We're looking at rezoning to take care of this. It's not our worry about sewer, that's you guys' worry. So basically what we're doing now is we can take that off the board, Sewer capacity will be there when the permits are issued, so that won't be an issue, based on what you're saying.
That's correct.
Good. That's all we need to know. That's the only thing we're concerned about.
Mark, the facility that I worked at and worked on, 68 acres under roof, and before we built it, the numbers that we had were almost 20% higher than what the actuals were.
One more thing to address would be schedule. If it takes us a year to get through permitting and a year to develop, we're 2 years before we start going vertical on any homes, and we're definitely not going to build all the homes in the first year. What we would, if you look at the site plan on the screen, what we would do as part of phase one is come in with the main boulevard and develop. All road improvements would be part of phase one. That happens day one, and then as we move to the south, we would build maybe 1 or 2 phases to finish out the community. But I just say that because I want to stress that we would not hit 391 homes in one calendar year. This is, once we start building, this is probably a 4 to 5 year build out, depending on how hot the market is or how cool the market is. But they are for sale, age-restricted, single-family homes. And I'm here for any more questions. Our engineer from CEC and our traffic engineer from DRG is here as well, if you have any questions of us. Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Bowling?
No.
Y'all want to hear from these other gentlemen, or are y'all good?
I think they pretty well covered all their bases. That was, I think, Mark and my biggest concern is the issue that we've had with the sewer and the capability of water handling it, but it seems as though our planning staff has got that under control. So,
All right, if they don't want to,
I've got one, it says park, and it looks like trails. Can you speak a little bit?
oh, I see what you're talking about. That park-to-park connection, what is that about? That's something funky looking.
Public access, or is that?
You mean the one I mentioned in the presentation?
Yeah.
That,
Yeah, that would be, so there's trails throughout the development. You see them over here, down here,
Okay.
over here. The one that we cared about was this connection right here, to go from along 84. And they would also build sidewalks along all of 84, but we wanted this connection to be public as well, because these are public roads and people might want to walk from here to here, and we didn't want anyone being accused of trespassing, so we asked for that to be public.
so that little squiggly line all the way through the property to the other side, is that a sidewalk or what?
This would be a sidewalk as well.
All the way through there, okay.
Yes, sir.
So that's basically just a park all the way through.
That's
Kind of like the Washington Mall, it's just this long thing goes through there and it's nothing but,
With a road every 100 yards.
yeah, gotcha. They have those too in Washington at the mall.
They do.
Are they gonna put a Statue of Liberty or something?
As long as it met our height requirements.
One of those. All right, we're gonna move on to those who signed up for public comments. Some of these have been scratched out, so I'm gonna try to get the ones who are not scratched out, and it looks like the first name is Rodney Helms, 4425 Weddington Road.
I'd like to thank you guys for your time tonight. Had several comments in here. One of the things with the report that sticks out to me, and you guys picked up on it, with the Village of Westlake Chapel passing a resolution to oppose this development, which is neighbors to where we are here.
Right.
Why we're not putting a little more weight into their consideration. The staff comments and resolutions, it has a lot of negative impacts, but the only reason to me appears that they're really approving it is because it's having less impact on a school than a non-55 and over community. The thing I like the most about it is 3 more years, I don't have to drive to work anymore. I didn't realize that was coming up, but I guess that's really nice. Bjorn, I wish I had your overhead where you kind of showed the growth how much it's increased in our area. I don't know if you guys got that.
Just show the,
Yeah, we
just
kind
pull
of,
this up.
yeah, we showed like a time lapse with the aerial. You made notes, one of your first notes saying,
Oh.
you can see how aggressive the growth in this area
Oh,
is.
yeah, I can pull that up. Yeah, so that would be this one right here.
Yeah. So that's what, I prefer not to have a whole lot of growth, but I'm fine with it being built with the current zoning. One reason there's so much growth in this area, we're constantly rezoning, special rezoning, conditional rezoning, different items like that. When St. John's Forest got built, there were a lot of promises that didn't happen. When they mentioned about the driveway out the back, they changed the number of houses and everything like that. So we're skeptical when you turn around and say, hey, I want this rezoned. We're gonna put it on the shelf for 2 to 3 years until the water and sewer comes along, and then we pull it off the shelf, or somebody else start rebuilding. And they might not build for 3, 5 years from now. So, you know, what other impacts, what else is gonna change in our county that rezone it would negative impact us later on? Why do we need, why does it benefit Union County to rezone this right now? Build for our current zoning.
Hey, sir, can I ask a question? I want to understand kind of basically what you're saying is, if it's rezoned now,
Yeah.
and then later on, for whatever reason, they scrap this, the zoning would still be with the property. Is that what you're
That's
saying?
correct.
Okay, thanks.
And then it might not get built for 5 to 7 years. And what do we know is going to be the impacts then? Well, how much the others are going to change in that area? If I read your map correctly, all these yellows are rezoned areas.
No. The only one that's definitely been rezoned is Weddington Point across the street. I honestly can't remember if Creeks Landing was a rezoning or not.
St. John's was rezoned.
That wasn't, that was Smart Road.
But, okay, but it still got rezoned to it. Different terminologies, but same thing. They had to change, they put more houses in a denser area.
All right. I didn't say this to start. We normally give 3 minutes, but I'm gonna let you have some levity if you
Since I
want.
stuttered, I get 5 minutes.
There's been some questions. I'll give you
I only got a
another
couple
minute.
more.
I'm gonna be nice.
I appreciate that. There were some things left out on the meeting notes. I requested to go down to 1 entrance, not 2 entrances, and not put it across from St. John's Forest to mitigate the construction or the traffic there at St. John's Forest. Union County says they want 2 entrances, but if you go down this road here, there's only 1 development that has 2 entrances. All the other will have 1 entrance. So there can be ways to put 1 entrance, and if you put it up a little bit higher, away from St. John's, kind of where the creek is, you get it out from the other entrances. So my thing is, we're trying to get, you know, we got projects on the 84 and Rocky River and 84 and Potter's Road. Wait till this stuff gets finished and then alleviate that stuff so we don't have traffic projects on both ends. Traffic flow will be better and this will be less of an impact.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
All right, the next person to sign up is Josiah Grimm, I believe, at Beacon Avenue.
Hey, good evening, gentlemen. It's a privilege to be here. I live on Beacon Avenue in the Creeks Landing development to the immediate west. I think several reasons for opposition have been noted, particularly around the traffic. And I'm going to refer specifically to the comprehensive plan for 2050 that's been published. There were a number of priorities listed in there, including additional parks and recreation space, additional trails and greenways, trees and open space, increased opportunities for community connections, opportunities to reflect the county's agricultural heritage. And then finally, while this was not formally adopted, the plan did note the Board of Commissioners' desire to deny rezonings before funded road projects had been completed. And so given some of the road projects that have been proposed, I believe it would not be prudent at this time to move forward with the rezoning. I was the resident who proposed the public golf course plan. I think there's a number of benefits that could come along with that. Specifically, again, in line with the items that were noted in the comprehensive plan, including parks and recreation space, increased opportunities for community engagement. I also believe it would not require the multiple entrances that the current proposal would require. I think there's opportunities to make it a very family-friendly recreational space. I think there's opportunities to make it a golf course that's more publicly accessible as opposed to higher cost type facilities that currently exist in the area. I'd be happy to speak about that more. I understand I'm on a tight timeline. I understand that the county is not necessarily currently in the business of operating golf courses. I was merely throwing out a suggestion of how we could use this land, this 180 acres that is great county space, and I would hate to see 400 homes put over it. Also, I would express a desire to retain the current buildings that are on site, the farmhouse and the barn. Again, I think that could be incorporated in a family recreational space under my desired plan. So again, I'm being quite aspirational perhaps with my proposal, but expressing a desire that the board considers the priorities that have already been published in the comprehensive plan as you're going forward with deciding on any rezonings. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, the next person is Nancy Honeycutt, 4421 Weddington Road.
I think we've covered it. It's the traffic impact.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And then I have Rodney Helms. Oh.
I get another 3 minutes?
No. Oh, you signed up twice, or your name's on here twice. You sure you don't have a brother named Rodney? Well, the brother Rodney. Is there anyone else that didn't sign up that'd like to speak? I will give you that opportunity. Yes, ma'am, please come forward, state your name.
Hello, I'm Amanda Stanford. I live at Potter and Chestnut in Indian Trail.
What was your name again? I'm sorry.
Amanda Stanford.
Amanda. And last name?
Stanford, like the university,
Okay,
S-T-A-N-F-O-R-D. So I live at Potter and Chestnut, and if you know Potter and Chestnut, I live in the neighborhood that's old enough to not have a name, and it takes me 20 minutes to go 4 miles from my house to 485. That's 20 minutes to go 4 miles because of all the construction that happened before they could address the road problems, because now they're addressing the road problems. So I came tonight to say, please don't rezone, because until the roads are addressed first, and there's time to make the roads better, they're gonna be exactly where I am right now, which is 20 minutes to go 4 miles to get to work, because I work in Wingate, which isn't really bad. It's, on a good day, it's 20 minutes. But on a normal day to get to work, it takes me, 30, 35 to fight that traffic. And again, it's a nice place to live. It's a really nice place to live. I moved here 10 years ago. It's a really nice place to live. But unfortunately now it's a headache. And now I have small kids that have gotten bigger. And I'm looking at my house, and I look at this plan, and it's just stuffed full of houses. My house is on 0.64 acres. It's a beautiful wooded lot. It's a 4-bedroom, 2-bath house. It's gorgeous. I love my house. It's a split level, 1986 build. It's gorgeous. But I look at these houses, and I think, God, that's how much money for what? And they're packed together like little sardine cans, and it just makes me sad that you're gonna lose this gorgeous farmhouse on this beautiful plot of land. Why? It makes me sad. So please don't rezone. It's a beautiful plot of land, right? And you don't need to do that. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else? I have a question for Mr. Bjorn Hanson, if you could come up.
Yes, sir.
The comprehensive plan that we all worked on, Union
Yes.
County 20, what does it say regarding something like this?
Well,
I've
the
heard-
specific map, which people always refer to, and
Yes.
and rightfully so,
Okay.
says this.
Single family.
It says single family, about 2 units per acre if you have access to utilities. This is about 2 units per acre if it has access to utilities.
And there was also a comment about the commissioners saying they weren't going to permit anything. Are you aware of that, or?
Well, that was a strategy that actually came out of your infrastructure committee. That was a recommendation to say, there's growth, there's a lot of projects that are in the pipeline for improving roads. Those projects exist because of current deficiencies. So if you're a project that is going to directly benefit from that intersection. Like if you were on Providence Road or Old Monroe Road, you are absolutely benefiting from those widenings, right? Here, it's a little bit less direct because you have to go through a couple intersections to get to either Rocky River or Potter, so I'm not sure if we would apply that policy here. But what it said is, if you are going to rely on future road improvements, by policy, the county would not approve rezonings for new residential development until those improvements were made.
Okay.
And that was presented to the Board of Commissioners 2 years ago. They did not approve it. So
Didn't.
that was a recommendation from the plan.
So it was not
enforced.
approved.
So therefore, we can't use it as a tool because
Yeah,
it wasn't
okay.
approved.
Just want to make sure if it was,
Right.
because that's kind of where I'm at right now on all this stuff, was where are the commissioners, and are we gonna, you know, what's the plan, what's their thinking? Because I can't, I mean, not that our board has to agree with them, but we do represent them, and so it's kind of like, I don't want us approving a bunch of stuff, and then they're all disapproving it or whatever, because they have policy in their head that maybe not exists, whatever, but.
The Board of Commissioners have great discretion in approving or denying rezonings like this,
Right.
but that policy is not a specific tool to refer to in this
Absolutely. Okay,
instance.
I want to make sure. Okay, any other questions you guys have?
Actually, I have a question for Bjorn as well. So how is that coordinated between this kind of development and it's a fairly limited amount of road work, you know, specifically for this? So would they do that first and then?
That would be done
commence?
early on. I think the number is 50 lots. Is that right, Shannon? 50 lots could be permitted before these improvements would be required. And the signal in particular, what's great, I've had this happen before, a signal is committed to, but then the DOT says, oh, it doesn't meet warrants, so it can't occur yet. So then we're in the situation of the developer saying, well, I'm not gonna wait around until, you know, I'm gonna be done in X number of months or a year.
Right.
What if it doesn't meet warrants at that point? The good thing is, in this instance, that signal already meets the requirements for the for adding a signal. So it can be added day one as a part of these other improvements, such as the turn lanes and the sidewalks along 84. So that's what Shannon was referring to in terms of doing that up front. So before the 51st home gets its building permit, these improvements have to be installed.
But during the raw land conversion, there's no street light there, there's just,
Well, you mean the illumination?
like, yeah, but when they first begin the project, there's a lot of work to be done before any houses are built.
Correct.
And a lot of construction work and a lot of stuff going on.
Correct.
So at that point, there's no street light there and.
Oh,
the
you
road
mean
is not-
stoplight?
Yeah.
No, I mean, typically you don't want to put in those improvements because then they all get beaten up by the heavy construction equipment. So you do that after a lot of the road grading is done.
Okay.
Or, I'm sorry, site work is done.
Any other questions?
In your opinion, the stoplight at St. John's will be an improvement to their development?
To which development?
To St. John's
St. John's
development.
Forest?
St. John's
Absolutely.
Forest, yes.
Yes.
That would be definitely
That
an
will help
improvement for
things. I
them.
will say we evaluated a roundabout. Couple issues with the roundabout in this location. One, there just isn't enough land to make it work without having to go on someone else's property. So they don't have the right to condemn like the DOT or the county does, so that's not an option. The second is that on certain roads, like the roundabout to the west at Potter and 84 was shown to be failing pretty soon. There's not near as much traffic as there is on St. John's Forest in this in this development feeding it, but still the idea that you can go beyond what a roundabout can handle safely, and you have to move to just a big upgraded signal. So it's on a continuum. You start with a four-way stop, you go to a roundabout, then you go to a really beefed up intersection, and then in some instances you go to grade separation, where you actually gotta put a bridge one over the other. So it's on a continuum. It's a variety of tools. In this instance, the signal, or I'm sorry, the signal was better than the roundabout. In addition, and I will say it, I said it in the community meeting, in addition to the cost, the signal is going to be a few $100,000. The roundabout will be a couple $1 million.
So basically, the turning lanes that are being proposed and all the work that's going to be done at the traffic light is definitely going to be an improvement for that development, St. John's Forest.
Absolutely. It
Sure.
already has a crash history. It already has
Okay.
a safety issue, in addition to just being difficult to get out of in the morning or in the evening.
Okay.
Anything further? Anybody?
I got one.
You was talking about the commissioners never approved what we were talking about, correct?
That's correct.
Did they approve or deny anything for the 2050 plan?
They approved plenty of things, just not
Okay,
that,
that's
just
what
not
I'm
that
asking.
strategy.
I guess what I'm getting at, that was passed over for a reason.
They-
And there
honestly, there was not a lot of discussion about it. They just didn't choose to enact it.
okay.
All right.
I do have one other question. For the guy with the DOT, the lady that brought up the situation with her 20-minute travel, do you guys have any type of estimate on the impact? Let's just say her going to work in the morning, 20 minutes now. This development is built. How's it going to affect her? Do you have any idea, speculate it, or either estimate what it's going to do to her time
Andy
traveling?
said Chestnut and,
Yeah, she don't live
Chestnut
anywhere near
Potter.
us, but.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
talking about
Yeah, this
I'm
is,
sorry, okay.
yeah, that's a completely different.
Okay, I apologize.
think
I
her comment
misunderstood.
was fully about overall growth, I don't think.
Yeah.
I misunderstood. I apologize.
I just meant I see what can happen.
Yeah,
And
that's-
they don't want to be in that situation.
Thank you. All right. Anything else? Clint?
I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I really need to know. Our current housing to commercial industrial retail ratio is like 90% residential, correct?
I've heard that recently, yes.
And they say a healthy county would be more like 65% residential and 35% commercial industrial retail. That's what I've been told. Am I totally off base there?
Our reliance on residential tax base is higher than ideal. The percents, I don't know, those are other departments, but in terms of just generally saying, are we healthy or are we out of whack? Yeah, I think it's a generally accepted truth in Union County that we're out of whack and we rely too much on residential for our tax base.
Okay, well, that's something that, in my studies, I've learned, and I'm going to do that somewhat correct.
Anything else? All right. Hearing none. Guess this time we need to talk about this. If we're gonna make a motion, we need to make a motion. I don't have all that, we got that information here. So.
Do we have to make the motion before we discuss it, or can we discuss some items before we make the motion?
I'm happy with discussing it before you make a motion.
The thing that, it's kind of a two-way situation. The St. John's Forest is going to be benefited from the traffic pattern, but the additional 300-something homes, what is it going to do to the rest of the traffic pattern that's not going to be addressed? That concerns me.
Well, and you have to remember too, that traffic, that intersection is not gonna be improved until later on. I mean,
That's correct.
It may never be improved, just don't, I mean, who knows what the economy's gonna do? Nobody will.
No.
So it's still gonna be a problem for those people, and how long it's gonna take to get this thing built.
And one-
Should they have honestly, they need to have that thing fixed now.
Yeah.
Be totally honest, the DOT needs to fix it now without this, but
And one thing will be a benefit of the above age restricted is that the majority of the people are going to be retired, so they're not going to be out at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
So that's a positive towards it. But yet, when they do get out, it's a negative on what it's going to do to the rest of the intersections.
The biggest negative I have on it, there's a lot of work that needs to be done throughout this county for the existing residents before we keep inviting other people in and inheriting their issues. We need to stop Band-Aiding what we already have and become a more desirable place to want to come to for everybody, not just certain parts of the county. Just like last night, I've watched the commissioner meeting with people with their concerns 2 and 4 fluoride in the water. I've not got no dog in the fight, I'm not on it, and I can see both sides. But I'm sitting down there with a well, and I got arsenic in mine, and ain't nobody, I would be glad to have fluoride in my water. So we've got a lot to do with the county already.
I think another position to look at too is what Mr. Balkin brought out, is our residential and a commercial. The ratio that we have back and forth now, the more residential we have, the more infrastructure we gotta have to control it. But if we look more to commercial, then the tax base is gonna be higher to help take care of this infrastructure. So, it's got its pros and its cons. To me, right now, it's looking like it's got more cons than it does pros for the existing traffic study we've got going on with the infrastructure that we have.
I live in Weddington, and we had a big commercial development proposed. Where 84 hits Providence from it. And people basically said, no, they don't want it. They want to stay residential, at least in this particular area. So it's kind of a mixed bag. We're really, I'd say Wesley Chapel, this area, Monroe, you're going to be more residential than you will be commercial. Unless you're in a city like Monroe.
Well, Union County's been more of a bedroom community than industrial. Anyway.
Well, but what everybody has to realize is Union County's big pull to the people were their schools and their low taxes. And the ideals that's going on right now are going to bring us right into what Mecklenburg deals with, and you're going to have high taxes, and everything else will go down, and then Anson County is going to be the next recipient of the new group.
Well, the biggest problem Union County has, in my opinion, is we have over 200,000 people who live here, and of those, well over half of them probably spend more money in Mecklenburg County than they do in Union. And all that tax dollars goes to Mecklenburg, and it doesn't pay for one thing in Union County. And that's very frustrating because we don't have, as Mr. Balkin says, we don't have enough commercial development here for people to spend their money here. So,
And then also Indian land.
well, there's that one.
Waxhaw doesn't allow no commercial stuff in there. Indian land's eating their lunch and enjoying every second of it.
This is, to me, that there's a lot, like you said, there's a lot going on here, and God bless you, because you're gonna be up here in a different capacity. But that's my thing. Are we gonna continue to approve these things and have this hypothetical pipeline that we hear about that's got all these developments already approved? But nobody really, I haven't found a human being yet that can tell me how many there really are. Because every town's got theirs, and everybody, it's like, who knows? And then, like they said, that they're asking to get in line for an unknown thing. There might be a crumb for us in 2 years, and there might not be. And it might be a whole cake in 5 years. We don't know yet, because we don't know what the commissioners are gonna do with development. So I just hate to continue to fill up this pipeline with stuff. And we don't even know what we got. So once we build this plant, maybe someday, it's already half of it's gone to these people in the pipeline. And so we got this commercial development that wants to come, but we don't know, because we got this pipeline slammed full of houses, and we don't. That's something at your level eventually, soon, either in December or before.
So this has a 5-year, it has to be developed within 5 years, correct? Sorry,
Right, I think they asked for a 5-year.
No, that just means it would start.
It has to start within 5 years.
5 years.
Right, yeah, they got 5 years to fire this off.
So basically, they got 5 years to build the first house.
Right.
Right, or, yeah.
So whatever line they're in.
Yeah, we don't know that.
We don't know what it is. It's gotta be 5 years or less.
I know this is to be serviced at 12 Mile Creek, but you've got to bear in mind that Site B has just been deemed not usable at the current time.
Right.
Because of the low oxygen level in the water. So there's no sewer coming, we're limited at best now. Would you say 89%?
I moved here 5 years ago, and this is a very desirable area. And as I say, Weddington wants to stay a bedroom community. And yes, Mecklenburg, you're right, there are plenty of restaurants and shops and Macy's and all the other places up in South Park. But I don't know, it's very difficult. You have to realize that people want to move here. North Carolina is beautiful, it's nice, and lots of rural spaces, although not along 84 and Providence, where I am, so anyway.
I thought we had to look at what Mr. Taylor was just talking about too. The more developments that we approve,
Right.
the more clustered that we're getting, and then the more people are gonna be moving south. Before long, we're gonna be like Mecklenburg.
That's right.
Right.
And I don't know, it's
But
just,
my main thing is, we got work to do on the people that already live here and are longtime residents. And we gotta fix the yard we already have before we add on to it.
as you and I live in the southern part of the county, southeastern part of the county, we have absolutely no benefits of anything.
Nah,
And we're paying as much tax as the people that, St. John's Forest, that have got all the benefits. And you wonder where the fair part's coming in at.
and I am in no way jealous of them getting benefits
I'm not
because I love where I live in the country. But all I'm saying is, I'm not the only one. There is a huge portion of Union County that the well water has arsenic in it.
Mine does.
And this has been something that has been, the commissioners has talked about and all for 25-plus years. And if you're lucky enough to be in the right clique, they'll do a short water line in your area. If you're not in that right clique, you're not gonna get it. But we got to figure out how to do it all and take care of everybody before we keep inviting people in.
Well, I'd like to make a motion.
Okay, sir.
I would like to recommend the denial of the rezoning petition CZ 2022-009 submitted by David Weekly Homes to rezone this property appearing on the tax map as parcels 09-402-011 and 09-402-011G in the Monroe Sandy Ridge Townships from R40 to R4CZ, and adopt the advisory consistency and reasonableness statement for recommendation of denial.
That's the motion. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
So we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
And I think the reason we're doing this is to let the road structure catch up to where we are now, rather than just keep adding more problems to it. And that was my reason.
Well,
behind
and I
this.
appreciate that, and I'm going to vote in favor, to support your motion, because I feel like it's, my position right now is, I want to see what the commissioners do with this, because I want to know where they're going with this stuff, because are we going to continue to approve these things when we don't have no sewer to approve them? And we're just throwing it into another bucket. So I don't feel like we need to continue to support these things when we know for a fact that we don't have the infrastructure to handle them. So that's why I'll vote against it. And, yeah, this is a great project for this site someday, maybe.
Absolutely.
There'll never be a Walmart and a Waffle House here.
Yeah.
It's gonna be houses someday, we know that, but we don't have the ability to provide the necessary things in my mind in the near future to support this. And what if we support this and then something comes along that needs to be done and we don't have the capacity for it because we already put this ahead of it and it's a more of a commercial necessarily. Well, I just think we got to figure out a plan. And I don't think it's this board's position to figure that out. And so.
Well, but the main thing is, as a board, we need to be consistent.
Consistent.
And just a few months ago, we recommend denial on another one. Now, it was a different, it wasn't a 55 and older. But the same standards
Same problem.
apply with it as it does with this one.
Now, if we don't approve this and the county commissioners come out and approve it, then we know where they're standing on stuff and it gives us more direction, I guess, but, right now, my position is we can't keep doing this. It's insanity. And so.
I think you guys have a good plan,
Oh, yeah.
but I just think it's not the right time for it.
Yes, we gotta figure some things out in-house, this county, and we hadn't done that yet, and hopefully that happens.
Do we need to read these three finding of facts on denial?
I believe so, I believe. I
No,
don't think so.
I don't think so.
You need to,
Well, we've seen it, so we're adopting it as it's written.
that's right.
Yeah.
So we don't have to say it.
Okay.
You can see it. And it'll be a record available for the people to see, so. Oh, we're gonna vote, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that we don't need to read all this stuff.
That's correct, yes.
Okay, any other discussion? If not, we will, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed to the motion?
Opposed?
Okay, so, you got that count, ma'am? All right, that's all with that one. Thank y'all for being here.
Thank y'all. Thank you for the presentation.
Yes, and this matter will go before the Union County Board of Commissioners for their final decision, and you'll be notified of that, I'm sure, Mr. Hanson will make sure you get that notification. Next item on the agenda is planning staff report. Are you prepared, sir?
Y'all are welcome to leave if
Yeah,
y'all
you
would
can
like.
leave, you don't have to stay, or you can.
Y'all are welcome to leave or you're welcome to stay.
No official report, just that in case you've been watching any of the board commission meetings over the last couple months, you know that there's been a lot of presentations of the implementation committee's work. 4 of them have made it through. That would be broadband internet, stormwater, clustering in rural areas, and then preservation of rural character. Almost all of those recommendations made it through. The next item to go before them, which will be in early March, will be on litter. And then after that will be school siting. A lot of those involve amendments to the UDO, which means they're going to come to you for a recommendation and then to the Board of Commissioners for a hearing. And so if there's any desire to be involved in any kind of work groups that we're going to be, chewing on the text, I would ask you to email Lee Jensen, the planning director, because I'm sure he would take, fresh eyes to look at the text to implement the intent of those specific recommendations that the board approves. That's what happens next.
All right, when you do the school board, I was on that one. Let me know, and I'll be glad to
Well, that one,
participate.
we're actually meeting tomorrow morning with the superintendent and their staff for UCPS to get them up to speed on the school siting recommendations. And then, once we're good with that, then that'll go to the Board of Commissioners, probably the second meeting in March. Now, all that is to say, do you want us to implement these standards? And if they say yes, any of them that involve text amendments to the UDO are going to come back to you anyway, and that would be the time that you would play a role in helping to draft that language.
But it's basically still in the thought process of trying to get it to where it would, a school site would be basically before the Board of Adjustments.
Well, that's one of the recommendations.
Yes.
The Board of Commissioners
But
can
they
say,
can
"We
do
like that,"
whatever
or
they
can
want,
say, "No,
but
we're
yeah.
not going to do that."
Okay.
Yeah, that's where they come into play. That's the next step, is for them to say, we agree with that. And if they do, then we've got to write the text that makes that happen, and that'll go to you for a recommendation. And if you want to help in the drafting of it, just volunteer, and we'll be sure to put you to work.
Could you elaborate more on the broadband internet that you were just speaking of?
Sure. Broadband internet was one of the things that was identified, actually through the Agricultural Committee, really at the leadership of Alan Baucom, to identify that, and this was just before COVID happened. He said, in the rural areas, we need high-speed internet because farming is a high data, high-tech endeavor. Then COVID happened and everyone needed high-speed internet. And so it was broadened to say, we need to make sure that everyone has access to high-speed internet. This is an emerging topic. Obviously, there's lots of money flowing down from the federal government to the states and to the locals to help with that issue. the first thing that we need to do, that was a recommendation that the board agreed with, was to establish a just like the land use board is a standing committee, to establish a broadband internet committee of a variety of stakeholders to help make recommendations on various issues to the Board of Commissioners, because they readily acknowledge they are not the experts on this topic. So that's the first thing that's actually going before the board, and it's happening March 4th, is to establish that committee. A lot of fiber is being run all over the place, but it's also where the people are, which is not where the issues are typically. They're
Right.
getting
I
more
was on-
options as opposed to getting the first fiber optic run in there.
I was on the agriculture board at one time, and one of the things we learned, the internet folks go to where they're gonna get the most people on it for the least amount of cable.
Right.
And also, we've learned that unlike, basically, if you build a house in the middle of a 1,000-acre field, the power company has to bring you power to it. They don't. It's totally different.
See, at our farm, we're a half a mile off the road. There's no internet back there, no way to get it back there.
And they're not gonna do it neither unless you pay for it.
That's exactly right.
Yep.
Is there any, since we're all talking about, sewer treatment, is there anything coming before the board to do something about that?
Seems like every meeting they're talking about it in one way or another,
There's
but
no
that,
working group or any committee to be doing
I don't
these
want
things?
to, I don't want to say any more about it
Yeah.
because
It's-
it's not my lane, and I guarantee whatever information I have is
Yeah.
is
Yeah, well,
at least
it's-
partially out of date. So,
It's become
yes.
a more of a political hot issue than,
Yes.
it's just, who knows what's gonna happen with it. But I would say, I think tonight, our board, and all respect to you, sir, I think our board wants to see more clarity from the commissioners on what their plan is for water and sewer and approving these projects, and hopefully they'll give that to us, but,
I
yeah.
think it would be good to know for, people are gonna keep coming here to do this.
Right, exactly.
So it would be good to know how long, something about this list. And
Yeah.
how long these projects are really gonna, what's a realistic timeline?
Yeah, I think we.
You
We
mean,
don't know.
you
We
mean
don't-
sewer
we
or
don't
road
know.
projects?
The projects that when they come and they say they have to wait for the permitting.
Oh,
for-
the residential,
Yeah,
just
these
the
residential
land development
products.
projects.
I mean,
Well-
what's a realistic timeline for them? We can't guess.
Is
Like
it-
how long before they are approved that there's enough sewer?
Well, they did present all that information, said
Yeah.
realistically it would be 24 months from now
For the
if
permit.
everything went well. However, our sewer situation is a bit of a wild card.
Yeah.
Therefore, they said that they have patience to wait, and they have the right to do that. When you're
Right.
entitled and you have that 5-year waiting period, if you want to
Sure.
wait till 4 years and 11 months and then send the bulldozers out, you can do that.
I think one thing that we'd like to see also is we'd like to know what the county commissioners' thoughts are on the growth, residential growth in Union County. Where do we need to be? What are their thoughts on it? I don't know how we could arrange that, but I'm
Well,
not
I-
sure, but
I think the first step is the comprehensive plan, because that's approved. That should be our first thing that we look at every time, and then if it, from there, go with it.
Well, I like the idea of broadening the tax base, but every time a new development comes in, my taxes go up.
Well, the one thing about pushing water instead of sewer, yes, that as many people will tell you, if you put water in the rural areas, somebody's gonna build some houses, actually. But if they don't have sewer, they're gonna be at least on a 1-acre lot because they have to have room for their sewer. And I think to meet R40, they have to have that, correct? R40 is 1 acre or plus.
You can build a home on less than 40,000 square feet with a septic field. Our environmental health department has shown how you can build homes on 20,000 square feet.
Well, I guess I was wrong in my interpretation. I thought R40 meant it had to be an acre lot. Is that not
Well,
right?
it does. I mean, I'm just saying.
Okay,
that
that's
the-
what
the-
my
the
thing was.
zoning- The zoning for rural character is RA 40. That's
Right,
true.
okay.
There has been historically an environmental health component to it, which is you need the land to accommodate the septic field and the repair areas. However, I'm saying that if you spend more money and use the newer technologies, you can make it work on a lot less than 40,000 square feet lots. But if it's in the rural areas and it requires zoning, it's still going to come to you and to the Board of Commissioners.
Right.
For approval.
All right.
All right, any comments from anyone? Anything?
Make a motion with adjourn.
Is there a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we are adjourned.